What is the best way to survive a nuclear war? A nuclear war would be a disastrous tragedy for human life and the environment. In the case of a nuclear detonation, you must respond quickly to enhance your chances of survival. In this video, we'll go through the procedures that people may take to prepare for and survive a nuclear war. While there are actions you may do to boost your odds of survival, the best course of action is to work towards avoiding such a terrible catastrophe from occurring. This video is meant to offer advice on what to do in the case of a nuclear war, but it's vital to remember that preventing such a tragedy is the best way to survive. This film is not designed to encourage or celebrate nuclear war, but rather to present knowledge that may save lives in the case of an emergency. It is critical to recognize that a nuclear war would be a cataclysmic catastrophe with terrible effects for human life and the environment. The immediate consequences of a nuclear detonation would be widespread death and damage due to the blast wave, severe heat, and radiation. A nuclear explosion's radioactive fallout would also have serious and long-term implications, including cancer and other ailments, as well as harm to the ecosystem and food chain. There would be long-term repercussions to consider in addition to the immediate effects of a nuclear detonation, such as the blast wave, tremendous heat, and radiation. A nuclear explosion's radioactive fallout would poison the air, water, and land, making it difficult for people to survive in impacted areas. The radioactive particles would also be dispersed by the wind, possibly polluting broad areas and rendering people unable to return home. A nuclear war would also have a catastrophic environmental impact, inflicting extensive devastation to the ecology and food chain. A nuclear detonation's immense heat and radiation would start flames, burning vast expanses of plant and fauna. The radioactive fallout would also pollute the land and water, making plant and animal survival problematic. It is equally critical to recognize that a nuclear war would have serious economic and societal effects. A nuclear war would devastate infrastructure, making it impossible for people to obtain food, water, and other necessities. It would also have a negative impact on transportation, communication, and healthcare sectors. A nuclear war would have terrible long-term economic and societal ramifications that would harm future generations. To summarize, a nuclear war would be a disastrous occurrence with serious ramifications for human life, the environment, and the economy. It is critical to take precautions to enhance your chances of survival in the case of a nuclear war, but the ideal course of action is to promote peace, disarmament, and non-proliferation in order to prevent such an event from occurring. It is critical to recognize that a nuclear war would be a cataclysmic catastrophe with terrible effects for human life and the environment. The immediate consequences of a nuclear detonation would be widespread death and damage due to the blast wave, severe heat, and radiation. A nuclear explosion's radioactive fallout would also have serious and long-term implications, including cancer and other ailments, as well as harm to the ecosystem and food chain. In the case of a nuclear detonation, you must respond quickly to enhance your chances of survival. The most crucial measure is to seek cover, as the blast wave and high heat from a nuclear explosion can inflict catastrophic injury and death. Basements or subterranean shelters provide the best protection against blast waves and radiation. It is also critical to keep updated about the situation by listening to local news and receiving emergency warnings. It is critical to have an emergency supply kit on hand that includes non-perishable food, water, a flashlight, a first aid kit, and any prescriptions that may be required. After the immediate threat has gone, disinfect yourself and your clothing to eliminate any radioactive particles. This may be accomplished by taking a shower with soap and water and washing your clothing separately. It's also critical to monitor radiation levels in your region. If they begin to climb, you may need to leave or locate a more secure refuge. It is critical to recognize that survival in the case of a nuclear war is not guaranteed, and that the only way to survive is to prevent such a catastrophe from occurring. This may be accomplished through the promotion of peace, disarmament, and non-proliferation. It is critical to be aware of these challenges and to support groups and leaders fighting to achieve a nuclear-free world. It is also critical to recognize the early warning signals of a nuclear assault. Governments all throughout the world have implemented warning systems, such as sirens and text message warnings. It is critical to be aware of these warning systems and understand what to do when they sound. Individuals can take precautions to maximize their chances of survival in the case of a nuclear catastrophe. 1. Seek immediate shelter. In the case of a nuclear blast, the most critical thing to do is to seek immediate shelter. A nuclear explosion's blast wave and extreme heat can inflict serious injury and death, therefore it's critical to get indoors and away from windows as soon as possible. 2. Locate a basement or subterranean refuge. If at all feasible, locate a basement or underground shelter. These regions provide the strongest defense against the explosion wave and radiation. 3. Pay attention to local news and emergency alerts. In the case of a nuclear detonation, it is critical to be up to date on the situation. Keep a battery-powered radio or television nearby for updates on the event and any evacuation or shelter-in-place instructions. 4. Create an emergency supply kit. In the event of a nuclear incident, it is critical to have a supply of food, water, and other necessities on hand. This should include non-perishable food, water, a flashlight, a first aid kit, and any prescriptions that may be required. 5. Go inside and remain there. Once you've found refuge, stay inside until officials give you the all clear. Going outside is not advised since radioactive fallout can be highly deadly. 6. Seal the room. To prevent radioactive particles out, seal the room using duct tape and plastic sheeting if feasible. 7. Decontamination. Once the immediate threat has gone, disinfect yourself and your clothing to eliminate any radioactive particles. This may be accomplished by taking a shower with soap and water and washing your clothing separately. 8. Monitor the radiation levels in your region. Monitor the radiation levels in your area. If they start to rise, you may need to escape or seek a more safe refuge. In the case of a nuclear war or other disaster, having a consistent supply of food is critical. Here are some precautions you may take to maintain a consistent supply of food. Keep a stockpile of non-perishable food on hand, such as canned products, dried fruits, nuts, and grains. These foods have a long shelf life and may be kept for lengthy periods of time. Rotate your stockpile. Make sure to rotate your stockpile on a regular basis by utilizing the oldest products first and replacing them with new items. This ensures that your food stays fresh and does not go to waste. Food preservation techniques such as canning, drying, and freezing can help increase the shelf life of fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats. This can be a valuable ability to have in an emergency. Start a vegetable garden or raise hens for eggs if you want to grow your own food. This can give a consistent source of fresh food while also supplementing your stockpile. Consider alternate food sources. In the case of an emergency, alternative food sources such as hunting, fishing, or foraging may be essential. It's critical to be familiar with the local plant and animal life, as well as which ones are safe to eat. Have a manual can opener and the following utensils on hand. Make sure you have a manual can opener as well as additional cooking gear such as a camping stove, pot, and pan. You will be unable to use electric appliances if there is a power outage. Here are some examples of non-perishable food products that can be preserved for lengthy periods of time. Fruits and vegetables in cans. Meats in cans, such as tuna, chicken, and ham. Nuts and dried fruits. The peanut butter. Complete grains, such as rice, quinoa, and oats. Soups and stews, canned or dehydrated. Jerky and various types of dried meat. Beans, canned or dry. Water in a bottle. It's vital to note that everyone's nutritional demands and tastes varies, so while stocking up on food, keep your individual needs in mind. It's also critical to ensure that the food you're storing is something you and your family will consume. It's also vital to consider the amount of storage space you have and to rotate your stockpile on a regular basis to guarantee the food stays fresh. Steps to avoid radiation. 1. Decontamination. Once the immediate threat has gone, disinfect yourself and your clothing to eliminate any radioactive particles. This may be accomplished by taking a shower with soap and water and washing your clothing separately. 2. Monitor the radiation levels. Keep an eye on the radiation levels in your neighborhood. If they start to rise, you may need to escape or seek a more safe refuge. 3. Use a radiation filter. Air filters that are particularly designed to remove radioactive particles from the air are available. These filters help clean the air within a shelter. It should be noted that these filters can be costly and may not be easily available in an emergency. 4. Use a Geiger counter. A Geiger counter can help you estimate whether it is safe to exit your shelter by measuring the level of radiation in your area. To summarize, a nuclear war would be a disastrous occurrence with serious ramifications for human life, the environment, and the economy. It's necessary to take precautions to enhance your chances of survival in the case of a nuclear war, but the greatest course of action is to try to prevent such a catastrophe from happening in the first place. We can make the world a safer and more stable place by advocating peace, disarmament, and non-proliferation. It is critical to recognize that surviving a nuclear war would be extremely difficult, and that the immediate and long-term consequences of a nuclear detonation would be catastrophic. The explosion wave, extreme heat, and radiation would kill and injure many people. The radioactive fallout would also have serious and long-term implications, including cancer and other ailments, as well as environmental and food chain harm. We've spoken about how people might prepare for and survive a nuclear war by seeking immediate refuge, locating a basement or underground shelter, remaining informed, putting together an emergency supply box, and decontaminating themselves and their clothes. However, it is critical to realize that survival in the case of a nuclear war is not guaranteed. It is critical to recognize early warning indications of a nuclear strike and to follow the instructions and guidelines of the appropriate authorities and emergency management agencies. They will have the most up-to-date and correct knowledge on how to proceed in the event of a nuclear disaster. In addition to preparing for and surviving a nuclear war, it is critical to campaign for peace, disarmament, and non-proliferation. We can help minimize the risk of nuclear war and secure a safer and more stable future for everybody by supporting groups and leaders working toward a nuclear-free world. Finally, it is critical to remember that the greatest way to escape a nuclear war is to prevent one from occurring. Let us join forces to promote peace, disarmament, and non-proliferation in order to create a more secure future for all.